Hello, and welcome back to another Strong Collectors live stream. I'm your host, Dakota. Not quite yet joined by my co-host, Jordan. Let me make sure everything is going well. Let me know if you all can hear me. Looks like everything should be working well. All right. So Jordan will be joining us a little bit later. He's in class right now, which when he does join, at least for the two of you watching right now, if you're still watching when Jordan gets on in a little bit, you got to go crazy. He's graduating with his master's degree. He just had his master's, whatever it's called, the big presentation that you do. And then when you do that, then you're a master. So we're going to all go crazy. Congratulate Jordan in the chat. So I'll remind you as he's coming in because I got to let him in, but we're going to do a big party for Jordan. A few things we're going to talk about today. You probably saw by the thumbnail. We're going to talk about DC going to Mattel, what that's going to, I don't know, it's just kind of our thoughts and predictions because they haven't really said exactly what that's going to look like. They've just pretty much said that Mattel is going to be doing DC figures. I was on Dan Hu's after show earlier today. He was speculating about that with Rich. And then we're also going to talk about the dragon from Mythic Legions. Party or a freak off, for Jordan, he deserves everything. So, you go as crazy as you feel necessary. I did make the goal of the stream. If we get 5 super chats, Jordan will say thank you in a silly way. I don't exactly know what that silly way is. It's maybe subjective what's silly or not, but mainly just because the option to have a goal is there. So I threw something up there. Not quite that kind of party, James, but still a good party. But yeah, we're going to talk about Beathir. We might actually start with Beathir because as much as Jordan is getting into Mythic Legions, I'm a little more into Mythic Legions. Depending on how long it takes Jordan to get in, we might do a call-in show towards the end of the stream. Just take a few folks if you're around. But let me go ahead and pull up my little slideshow here. Look at that beautiful thumbnail I made, huh? Best thumbnails in the business. Is that right? Let's talk about some of the episodes that we have currently that you've probably already watched. But in case you haven't, you can go back and watch on Strong Collector Comics, our second channel. If you're not subscribed there, you should be. We're talking more comics, a little bit of movies, TV shows, things like that over there. We're talking about how comic prices are about to go up, sadly. We've got tariffs, threatened, imminent, whatever you want to call it, are already in act for China, I believe. So that's not really where a bulk of the single issue comics come. That's more like the 10% China tariff is going to be for US listeners, at least if you're in the US right now. That's for your compendiums and collected editions. But then the Canada tax tariffs, that's going to be more affecting most single issues. So in this episode, we kind of go into detail about what all that's going to affect and, the broader implication. Because obviously, I don't want to have to pay more for the comics that I'm buying. I've even stopped buying most single issues and I've switched to buying mostly volumes of physical books and then doing most of my reading digitally, especially for Marvel comics. But, that's not only going to hurt us as people going out to the comic book stores and buying comics that are now more expensive. That's also going to increase those costs for the comic book stores. And I think they're going to be the ones that really take the brunt of the hit on this one, unfortunately, because I don't own a comic book store myself, but I would imagine comic stores are a hard business to keep rolling. I think it's on the downhill. I don't know when it was ever a booming business, but I think it's getting harder and harder to keep comic book stores open. So sadly, I think they're going to be the ones that are really feeling this. Yeah, okay. Otherwise, if you want to stick on the main channel, this episode came out, I want to say yesterday. So Jordan and I went on Legendsverse and we checked out the custom Marvel Legend page, just kind of seeing what folks had put on there. These were some of the highlights from the show, but we looked at several pages of customs. I think my favorite is this Destroyer repainted for the Thor Buster. Also, I'm a big sucker for Invincible, so love that. I would love to get Invincible figures from somebody that Diamond Select was doing them. Not really my style from Diamond Select. I don't like the articulation there. They just even looked a little weird, like at least Invincible to me looked weird. I think Robot, Monster Girl, those characters looked really good, but I would like to see them more in the Marvel Legends style. And that's kind of what I would like to see for my DC figures too, that we'll talk about here shortly. And just today, new episode, the end of an era, talking about Build-A-Figures versus deluxe figures and kind of what we expect to see from Hasbro in that way. Because, last year we only got 3 Build-A-Figures. This year we've only seen 1, but it's still pretty early in the year. We could potentially see more. But in the past, I went back and looked. I think it was 2018. There was 6 or maybe even more Build-A-Figures. I put a screenshot in this episode so you can see for sure, but at least 6, if not more, Build-A-Figures put out in 2018. And that's not the only year that we had more than last year's, but with last year being 3, it's kind of, a lot of folks are wondering, is Hasbro going to be moving away from the Build-A-Figure? Because we saw with the Gamerverse wave, none of those figures came with a Build-A-Figure. Then you get the mini comic wave, and we swap out the Build-A-Figure for mini comics, which I think the mini comics it's a fun thing to do. I don't really want to see it like beyond that wave, or like, sure, throw it out once a year, because I don't know that I'm really going to do much displaying with those mini comics. It's a fun gimmick, and essentially it's just a retro card, or a way to do a retro card a little bit differently. I don't think a lot of people are really jiving with the mini comics, but again, I think it's a fine experiment to try, whatever. But I think one of the things about Build-A-Figures that we kind of forget, and chime in the comments, because I would love to know your guys' thoughts, because we've had Build-A-Figures since the end of Toy Biz, and I think it's just become such an expectation that I think we almost forget that it's kind of like it's a sales tactic to throw in a Build-A-Figure, because, and we talk about this like in full detail on this episode, so you can check it out after this. But I just think that, if you step back out of your, I've been collecting Marvel Legends for however long, and I want Build-A-Figures, and you look at it and you say, is this even great for collectors? Because it feels like I'm getting more value when I get my figure and a Build-A-Figure piece, but then I'm also having to buy other figures in that wave, that maybe there is a Build-A-Figure wave that I want 100% of those figures. But I think more often there's at least 1 or 2 that I don't care about, but maybe I still want that Build-A-Figure. So then I'm going to get stuck. If there's 2 figures I didn't want, I got to pay $50 more than I wanted to get those extra arm and leg to finish my whatever it is, Man Thing or a Mindless One. So really, wouldn't it be better if I just paid $40 for that figure? Like I said, if we take Man Thing, for example, I think he was $40 as a deluxe. Same with Venom Pool. Whereas I'm going to get 2 Build-A-Figure parts for $50 if they were in a Build-A-Figure wave, but then I got to complete all those figures. So again, that's just kind of that toss-up of like, I'm curious to know what you guys think of Build-A-Figures and deluxes, and are Build-A-Figures even worth it? Like, if Hasbro was like, we're done with Build-A-Figures, no more. Just looking at those like large, to me, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think the bad thing comes in with the wave itself, because I think with all of those Build-A-Figure waves, you're getting some of those oddball characters that maybe you don't care as much about. Because I think that's kind of where you throw in the like Vampire Storm that came in the Blackheart wave, or it's Husk. Like, yeah, there are definitely some fans out there that really want Husk. But does the general collector care about that? And then if the answer is not really, then is that figure going to get made? But there's that group of fans that really, really want it, that if it wasn't a part of a Build-A-Figure wave, maybe it wouldn't be coming out. So again, I'm kind of, there's both sides to it. And I think it can sometimes be easy to forget that, it's not just a good thing that they're not going to be doing Build-A-Figures anymore. So again, now that we got a few more people in here, reminder, said it at the beginning of the show, but if you didn't catch it, Jordan is going to be joining me shortly. He is stuck in class right now, but he is at the tail end of his classes. He is graduating with his master's. He just did his, I can't remember what it's called, the master's presentation, capstone, something or another maybe. But he did that, completed it, went well. So he's, for all intents and purposes, he's a master, finished his, or, finishing up his degree. So when he does come onto the show, we're all going to go crazy and make him feel real good about finishing school. And, him finishing school is going to be helping us do some more regular live streaming. Because right now, school unfortunately takes up a lot of his time, but he'll be on shortly. So, let's see. What is this slide? I don't even remember. Oh yeah. If you haven't watched the Nerdies already, you might see a couple familiar faces in there doing some presenting. And yeah, so check out Nerdies. Big fan of Nerdzoic. I've been watching him since I got back into collecting. And since we started the channel, it's always been a goal of mine I was kind of hoping I would get an award on the Nerdies, as one of the Rookie of the Year. And then I didn't get that, but now we're on as presenters because, we're big-ish fish in this pond. We're fishing this pond, so that was super fun. Very happy to be in that. So yeah, check that out. I think Bushwhacker is a good example. So you definitely can still get those off the beaten path characters without a Build-A-Figure wave. But I just, it's kind of like you're only going to get them in those 2 packs, or, just they do some like the female Electro. I think that's a pretty deep cut, but it's also an Electro. So maybe it's not the best example. So all those kind of things, I don't know. I don't know if we'll have to really see what happens, because I would expect we're still going to be getting Build-A-Figures at least this year, but time will tell. Okay, let's go to, let's talk Dragon first, because I don't think Jordan's going to be quite as into the Dragon. We both went to Legions Con and saw Baethir the Dragon, but neither one of us really have the room for it. I mean, I'm in a bus right now, so I definitely don't have space for it. I've got my 3 shelves over there for displaying my, I could get maybe 4 figures on a shelf, maybe 6 if I really squish them in there. So again, I don't have the room for it right now. Even if I had an apartment or a house, this would be a stretch because of the space. I like my standard Mythic Legion figures. I kind of want to say that's my favorite line to collect, even though I do probably collect more Marvel Legends, but it's probably pretty close to 50-50 there. But I definitely think the value of Mythic Legions is way higher than the Marvel Legends. This dragon, though, is going to be ginormous. So I'm curious to know, are you guys interested in picking up the dragon at all? Let me see here. Can you guys even see it? Oh, yeah. I was checking what you guys are seeing. Yeah. Okay. You're seeing it. Are you curious? Are you interested in picking up this dragon? Because I, for one, I don't even collect the horses really. And you can see the horse down here. It doesn't even come up to the end of the leg, like the front leg, which is the shorter leg on the dragon. It's super cool. It's definitely a statement piece for sure. I think they said, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I probably should have looked at it ahead of time. But this is going to be $550 for, I believe it's the base offering. I don't think that includes the outstretched wings. So if we go back, this is your base dragon. And then there's going to be, I think, an add-on pack for the kind of the stretched out wings, the fire effect. It's also a different head where it's like the fire breathing head. And it's also a different neck so that the head can kind of stretch out like that. So $550 for the base dragon. I don't know if they've said exactly how much the add-on pack is going to be, but this is going to be kind of like a HasLab or a Kickstarter, but it's going to be on Four Horsemen's own website. So they're not going to have to pay those additional fees that you would have to pay if you're doing a Kickstarter, because with a Kickstarter, you're not just sending your money to the action figure company. Like Kickstarter is going to take a cut of that. So with that, 550 plus, they're going to be doing kind of stretch goals. So, you know, if I think it's, did they say 2,000? I don't know why I'm thinking 2,000. I think they said 2,000 was kind of the minimum backer quantity that they need to make the dragon, and then there's going to be stretch goals past that. So they haven't said what those are, but I think they have said that there's going to be figures and other things like that. And those are just going to be added on for free. So, you know, you pay your 550 for the dragon, however many stretch goals are made past that 550, you get those figures at no additional cost. Like, you don't have to pay more, because it doesn't like unlock a new figure that you can purchase. It just unlocks a new figure that's coming with your dragon already. So let's see here. Ray Paz, strong collector member there, looking good, fresh cut. Let's go full screen. Check out that haircut. Probably the best haircut I've ever had from any barber. Definitely took the longest out of any haircut I've ever had, but I think it was worth it. Thanks for noticing. That's a strong collector right there. Can't pull 700 out of my butt in a month. I mean, they told you this was coming in November, so I mean, you had time to plan if you really wanted it. But I totally agree. For me, again, I don't know, 700. Maybe that's expecting for the entire like accessories and everything on top of it. Yeah, for me, 550. I would rather spend my 550 elsewhere. But the problem for me is going to come with the figures that come unlocked with this, because I would imagine those are going to be really cool. Like if they put like a regular knight out with this guy, chances are I'm going to want that knight, but I don't want to buy the dragon to get the knight. So it'd be cool if there was a way to like purchase those figures separately from the campaign, because even then too, like I would think that they had on display at Legion's Con kind of the charred skeletons and the charred knights. So it'd be cool if they had those as unlocked tiers. But you know, if you're buying the dragon, maybe you want more than one charred skeleton. So it'd be kind of cool if you could choose how many additional skeletons you wanted to go with it. We don't know yet. I'm just kind of speculating here. But this is going to be going up for pre-order in March. I don't think they've said the exact date yet, but that's coming up pretty soon. So once we know more, we'll probably do another live stream when we see, especially the tiers. That's what I'm really excited to see. And they have said that if this is a successful campaign, which I imagine it will be, that they are planning to do other dragons, because there are other dragons in the lore right now. So, you know, this is only the first dragon. I kind of wonder how soon they're going to put those dragons out, because 550 is a pretty big chunk of money for your like yearly budget. And it's also a lot to fit on your display, because I've been saying forever that like with HasLab, I mean, I only do HasLabs, or only consider them for Marvel Legends, because I don't do G.I. Joe or Transformers or things like that. But even with Marvel Legends, we have 3 HasLabs out. There could have been 4. And at some point, you're going to run out of space, because, you know, if you're going to do Marvel Legends and Transformers and G.I. Joes and get all those HasLabs, I don't know where those are all going in your house. You know, you're going to run out of collection space at some point. How many dragons are going to fit into your house before one just ends up in a box under the bed? So collecting space is definitely an issue. And, you know, you could go back and watch strong collectors talking about the 3 biggest issues collectors face. One of those is space. So at least that's what I think. For me, space is definitely an issue. Let's see. Ray says, the dragon looks great, but it's out of his price range. Also, I want to back Unparalleled Universe's next Odious Kickstarter, which is upcoming. That's understandable. I mean, like I said, this is not going to be the only crowdfund this year. I don't know that we're going to see a Marvel Legends crowdfund, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think that some other Hasbro crowdfund is going to happen. So you kind of have to think of those ways too. For me, this would be at the top of whatever's going to be crowdfunded this year. Maybe there would be a Marvel Legend thing, but even that's like Fin Fang Foom would only be the thing that would kind of tempt me. I don't know if there's any other Marvel Legend big things that I would really want that bad, because I've got my Galactus and that's really all I need. The Sentinel, I did pre-order the like made to order 97. Again, we'll see if I cancel those or not. Probably depends on the budget at the time, but you know, that's a future Dakota problem, right? But as far as this year, I would think that this dragon is kind of towards the top of my list of things to get. Let's see. Yeah, plus shipping and tax. Judge is thinking around 700, possibly, especially if you're like overseas, like if you're trying to buy this outside of the US. That's definitely going to be another add-on. I will say the one thing that Jeremy from Four Horsemen has been saying is that you are able to do pay in 4, so you don't have to pay all up front, but it is also charged immediately. So if you back day 1, you're going to get charged on day 1. It's not like a HasLab where you get charged at the end of the campaign. So that is something to consider. But also, since this isn't like a campaign like HasLab with things unlocking, they're going to put all the stretch goals out ahead of time, they said. So it's not like there's going to be like, oh, make it to this part and then we'll unlock it. You're going to see everything that's available right out of the gates, which I think is really good. But if you're waiting until the end, that could like stall out some other backers. Whereas if there's a big jump, like a big surge at the start, then that can like push more and more people to like unlock more and more stretch goals. So things to consider there. Let me see here. Yeah, no desire for the dragon, but it does look cool. I totally agree. I'm kind of in the same boat. I would like a dragon, but I just don't know that I need my dragon to be that big. I totally get that this is like in scale, and this kind of stretches beyond just Mythic Legion collectors. If you want a cool dragon, like this is going to be your coolest action figure dragon. Like I don't think you're going to find anything better than this, and I don't think anything better is going to come along in a long time. I was thinking with this, yeah, like bringing up Fin Fang Foom, I was curious because if I would assume Marvel has at least talked about doing a Fin Fang Foom Marvel Legend HasLab or made to order or something like that. I was curious if, like, you know, if they had talked about this and they were like, all right, let's do a Fin Fang Foom in 2025, and then Mythic Legions puts this out. I wonder if that takes away some of the HasLab Fin Fang Foom excitement, because some people are like, you know, I got a green dragon. Obviously, this does not look like Fin Fang Foom, but it's a green dragon. And I think Fin Fang Foom probably could have sold well as, you know, it's just a big dragon. I can use this in my Mythic Legions display, but now that I don't need that Fin Fang Foom anymore, if I'm only looking to display the dragon with my Legions, I would think that takes away some of the need for a Fin Fang Foom. So I don't know. I'd be curious to know what the talks are about that. So Richie Figs is seeing a lot of people say that the new Venom is the movie Venom body with accessories. I'm almost 100% positive that's not true. It looks kind of similar, but I don't think that's the same body at all. Like you said, it's bigger. Like it doesn't even look like it's close to the same scale when you're putting them next to the Spider-Man figures. I don't really want the new Venom from the Gamerverse stuff, so I didn't look too much into it. But I'm almost positive they said that that's an all new, brand new Venom that they did. So yeah, I don't think that's the movie Venom. All right, this is the size that it would be for your Detolfs. So if you're like, oh, I don't know if this is really big, you can wrap the tail around and it can just fit on one or two Detolf shelves. Not too bad, but I will say, am I going to display my dragon like that, or am I going to display? I'm going to want the fire breathing stretched out, make him look huge. So for me, That's how I would display it. But again, I don't have the room for that, so probably don't have to worry about it. Some other big figures, though. If we go back, the dragon is, it's on this small thing. 22 inches tall to the top of its wing and 31 inches with it curled in like that. I think it's like 6 feet long if you do the full stretched out like this, where from flame tip to if you stretch that tail out, I think it's, if not 6 feet, it's real close. But if you're looking at height wise, you're looking at around 22 inches, and you could probably even ratchet those wings down to make it a little bit shorter. But you've had the Galactus, which I think is the best HasLab they've done, probably the best HasLab they'll ever do. 32 inches tall. And then you had the Cat Slayer for Super 7 and Thundercats. That was 36 and a half inches tall. So those are substantial figures. Galactus costs $420. I think I was looking for what the Cat Slayer cost, and I can only find it for sale now. I don't remember how much the Cat Slayer cost when it was in the crowdfund. But if you know that, you can throw it in the comments. But again, two very large, substantial figures that are going to take up a significant chunk of your collection space and a significant chunk of your budget. Gabriel's saying $650 possibly for the Cat Slayer. So another extra $100 on top of the dragon. For me, if I'm comparing those two, like the dragon for $550, Cat Slayer for $650, it's hard because it's like, it's the layer for your whole team. Very iconic. You don't really need to even pose it. You just having it there is kind of cool. But then at that point, it's like, do I need? I feel like it could be done for less than $650. So I think I would see the value much more in the dragon when comparing those two. But then you take the $550 dragon, and then you had I can't remember what the HasLab Galactus was. It was probably just under $400 before taxes and shipping, but after taxes and shipping for me, it was $420. But yeah, $100 less. I would choose Galactus every time, but that's just because I like my Marvel characters. I've always wanted a big Galactus like that. So again, just different things to kind of look at in comparison for the same amount of money. Okay. So that's all of that. So before Jordan jumps on, he should be joining us here pretty shortly. I think his class just ended. So let's go back to the top. Remember, once Jordan comes on, he's getting his master's degree. You're all going to go crazy congratulating Jordan. I'll even send him a text right now to see. Okay. He says that the past week and a half has just felt like a series of kicks to either the nuts or the head, and not in a good way. So we're going to change his spirits when he gets on here. And when he does, we're going to be talking about Mattel getting the rights to DC themed toys. And, we're mainly talking about action figures here. So we've kind of done, I was literally editing, spoiler alert for future episodes. This will probably come out on Monday. I was literally in the middle of editing what if Hasbro made Marvel Legend figures. And we did sort of like we did with the what if McFarlane made Marvel figures. What did I just say there? What if Hasbro made DC figures? So we did similar to the episode we talked about McFarlane doing Marvel figures, where Jordan and I each created a wave of, what would be McFarlane's first wave of Marvel characters. He made a wave with a Build-A-Figure and a Deluxe. I made a wave with a Build-A-Figure and a Deluxe. And we did the same thing for DC. So we imagined it being in the style of Marvel Legends. You pose your two DC and Marvel figures next to each other, and it looks cohesive. I think that's something I've always really wanted from my action figures, because even like going back to Toy Biz, like I had my Toy Biz Marvel Legends, and then I had my DC UC DC figures. Again, it's close. They're 6-inch scale, but they don't look the same. Papa didn't even know. Big news, Papa. Breaking news. Mattel wins the rights to do DC figures. That is the talk of the town today. That's the talk of the live stream. So I again, they haven't said anything. They haven't showed pictures of the figures that they're doing. But we can kind of speculate and more so hope. And maybe somebody from Mattel out there is watching this right now. If you are, let us know. And if you have a need for, I would love to be your Ryan Ting or your, the people, the person that shows the people what all's going on. So, again, I think it would be super cool to see 6-inch DC figures that look cohesive on the shelf next to my Marvel Legend figures. Because again, like we have the McFarlane multiverse, a lot more issues with that in the way that like putting that next to my Marvel Legends Spider-Man, they don't look like they go together. McFarlane figures are 7 inches and like sculpted completely differently. The articulation is pretty bleh, to be honest. Marvel Legends 6-inch scale, I would say very good articulation. They move very well for the price, in my opinion. Let's see. Yeah, Ray never liked. I think a lot of people really didn't love McFarlane figures. I mean, there were some people that loved McFarlane figures, and there was a lot of people that didn't like them at all. Jordan and I were a little bit heavier into collecting the DC figures early on, but as we move along, we get more into Mythic Legions. It just kind of the excitement for a McFarlane is almost never even close to the excitement for a Mythic Legion or even a Marvel Legend. Like I would put my on a scale that like using those as my scale, Mythic Legions always exceed my expectations like 95% of the time. I open a Mythic Legion and I'm like, this is way better than I expected. A Marvel Legend is usually about spot on. I open a Marvel Legend and I say, this is exactly what I expected. I'm not disappointed. I'm not overly excited about it. What I got is what I expected I would get. And with McFarlane's, it's always like, I really wanted this figure, and I just it's okay. It's very good if I just want to pose my figures standing on the shelf. That's what they excel at. The sculpting is great. I don't think they're bad figures. Just for what I want to do with my figures, I like displaying my figures in more of like an action pose. If McFarlane was like, even with like characters like Nightwing or Catwoman, even sometimes a Batman, figures that you want to put in any sort of like dynamic crouching poses for sure, or just don't even try. If McFarlane did Spider-Man's, Peter's standing up at attention and he's never going to be crouching. So it just depends on what you're displaying. It doesn't really work for the way I display, but I will say he does excel at the mega figures. I think if you compare like the Necron, Man Bat, even Swamp Thing, those figures are very good, and they're usually around $40. I think that's a great price because you take your mega figures. It's kind of hard to say because like McFarlane's are always going to be bigger because it's just a bigger scale. But like if you look at Odin or the new Venom, the Hulkbuster, those are $60 for your kind of mega figure type Marvel Legends versus $40 for your McFarlane. I would have to give the edge there in value for me to McFarlane. Again, I think he mainly shines in the mega figures where McFarlane shines overall as a whole. But, just my opinion. And I think with that being said, Mattel it's announced like this is legit. Mattel is going to be doing DC figures. I think it would be cool if along with this, because I think what that means is McFarlane is not going to be doing DC figures. Like it's not really like announced or said, but I think that's kind of implied. If Mattel is going to be doing the figures, the person doing them currently won't be allowed to do them. So if McFarlane's not doing DC figures anymore, I think it would be cool if he got the Diamond Select type of line, at least for Marvel. Again, I would like if he didn't do Invincible. I would love if Hasbro got that. I don't think that would ever happen. But again, seeing McFarlane do Marvel Select figures makes a lot of sense. He wants to do 7-inch scale. That's what Diamond Select Marvel characters are. And I think, again, I probably am not going to be going all in and buying every McFarlane Marvel figure, but if he was doing mega figures, I think he could do a great job. He could do a good Abomination, who would probably be a little bit more articulated than Diamond Selects. And he could do some more of those. You could watch our videos on what we think McFarlane would do well at. Give me a Blade, give me a Ghost Rider. I think he would knock those out of the park. T3 Collects says that McFarlane's DC license ends in June. So does that mean we've just got a gap of like, what, 6 months for no figures? And I would say, T3 Collects, he's pretty in the know. So if he says the DC license ends in June, I don't really doubt that. And again, this is just kind of all logistical things of what I'm thinking of. Like, if the license ends in June, does that mean he just has to like stop producing figures, or does he have to stop selling them? Like, does the DC McFarlane site like go dark on whatever date that is in June? Okay. June 2026. That makes a lot more sense. But again, still same questions. Like, what does that mean going forward for like figures? Like, does he make them like as long as they're produced and like then he can sell them after that date? Again, I don't know. That's just probably not really that necessary, and people are going to be looking more forward to the Mattel stuff anyway. So anyway. More Invincible figure love. I agree. Let me see. Okay. All right. Mattel takes over in June. First figures drop July 2026. That's cool. I think, like I said, Jordan and I already recorded our What If Hasbro did the Marvel Legends stuff. Speaking of Jordan, let's bring Jordan in. Is Jordan ready? Jordan.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Jordan's here. I can hear you.
All right. Hello, folks. Sorry about my marginal tardiness, but it's good to be here. Did I go away?
There we go.
Oh, you're moving it around.
Yeah.
Readjusting the StreamYard here.
Yeah. There you go. Congratulations, Jordan, on your master's degree.
Thank you, Marcio. I appreciate it. It's been not there yet, but we're almost there. So I appreciate it.
You finished your big presentation. You're a master.
That's right. I just have to take the test next week. That determines if I'm allowed to practice or not, but I think we'll be all right. Everybody here would vouch for me.
That's true. And if any of you nerds need some therapy and counseling, Jordan is.
It might be unethical to work with your subscribers. I'm not sure if there's a chapter on that. We could talk about it.
What happens when you get so famous that like everyone is your subscriber, though?
Oh, I guess that's true. You're right.
I feel like that's got to be a thing. You got to. Like, there's therapists with YouTube channels and TikToks that all.
That's true.
Right. I will say, Jordan, if you decide to start a TikTok, you can't say therapist Jordan. You can't do that kind of stuff.
What do you like? In your name?
Yeah. Because then if you don't read it right, it's the rapist.
Oh, Jordan. Right.
So
like in Arrested Development when it becomes an analrapist.
Exactly.
An analyst and a therapist.
Analrapist. I like it. That's funny.
Yeah. All right.
Did you get Yeah, you got a haircut for your presentation.
Yeah, what the heck? Look at your hair.
Boom, baby.
What happened? When did that happen?
Yesterday.
It looks good.
Thank you.
Is the beard coming back too, or just the hair going?
Just did a good job blending. Look at that. That's my hair.
Look at that, folks.
If anybody wants a ponytail of my hair, I will sell it to you. No, I actually won't. I'm donating this to children that need wigs. So Sorry, you missed out. Maybe the next one you all can buy.
It's not our next giveaway.
Our next giveaway is my ponytail. I wonder if that's allowed.
My hair. Oh, look at all. I feel so loved. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Should have invited everybody here to my presentation.
I don't know how many people they can have in the Zoom, but would have crashed the Zoom for Jordan.
That'd have been fun. Well, yeah, you're right. Dakota is looking great with that haircut. Tell him, folks, that he needs to get that beard back, though, because then we could brand ourselves as the Beard Brothers.
I don't think I'm ever going to be a beard guy. I like anytime I have a beard and I shave it off, it's so much better. Like, now that you've had a beard for a long time, I would be curious to know, like, you shave your head, you get in bed, put your head on the pillow for the first time.
Yeah, I guess the beard, it doesn't like bother me.
No, yeah, it doesn't. It's not bad having it, but then when you like feel things on your face again, like you go kiss your wife with the bare face, that's better.
I do miss shaving. I always liked shaving. Yeah, T3, get that beard going.
All right, Jordan, we were talking about Mattel getting the DC.
Yes, big news.
Figures. So I put in a few slides to kind of remind us what Mattel has done and what they're currently doing. So right now, well, sold out at Target, you get this giant dinosaur for less than $50. I don't know how big that dinosaur is, but that's pretty freaking big.
Did somebody say paint that green and call it Beast Boy?
Maybe. That could work.
That might be in the first wave.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, I was like literally, I don't know if I told you, I was literally editing our What If Hasbro made DC figures when the news came out. So we're going to have to redo it. What if, or well, not really a what if anymore, but
do we just rebrand it as Mattel?
That's what, when I was on Dan Who's after show today, Rich was saying you should just like superimpose, like anytime we say Hasbro, just Mattel.
Yeah, well, we called it DC Legends, though. That's kind of in the title.
Right. Did Todd lose the license or did he give it up? I would say he lost it, and Judge is saying that too. I think and this, again, I'm just kind of reiterating what I heard joining the Dan Who after show today.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Check that out.
Up to speed.
John on the after show was talking about kind of the business of how it works, and with before Todd, I think Mattel had the line then, but with the movies coming out, it was kind of the darker Snyder stuff that just isn't really geared towards kids, and it's like
it's not for kids.
Yeah, it's not for kids.
So the adult movies,
right? Mattel was like, I don't want this anymore. The brand isn't really worth selling. So Mattel said, I don't want it. Todd said, I'll take it. Now that they're kind of doing the switcheroo with the new Superman movie and all the new stuff that
bringing color
James
back
Gunn
to
is
the
doing,
movies.
Yeah, now it's going to be a little more bright and could actually maybe market that stuff.
They turned the lights on.
Yeah.
Like, I know you were filming with the lights off this whole...
Pretty much. I mean, that's exactly what it's felt like. And I agree. I never really liked the looks of those movies. I was like, why is it so dark? And I if you like those movies, that's good that you don't like good movies, but you can go to Strong Collector Comics and hear all of my opinions there. But anyway, I think now that it's going to be something a little bit more sellable, Mattel is the bigger company that can say, hey, we can make these figures, and they can outbid McFarlane to get that. Right. So T3 thinks that Warner Brothers wanted to up the fee, and I think that's probably right. Because like I said, it's just going to be more sellable now with the new movies. Like, I think this is going to be what really brings DC more into the forefront. Like the Snyderverse, people knew about those movies, but I don't think they were really excited about them. So that's just kind of my guess.
Well, yeah, I don't think you were really selling a bunch of toys to kids with grim and gritty Batman and Superman. Right. I don't really think those were flying off the shelves for kids.
Yeah, and that's just crazy. But
Judge Dredd's every DC movie is garbage. Sorry, that's.
I mean, I don't think that's completely wrong.
Calling it like he sees them.
Was there any that I liked?
Of like the DC EU stuff?
And I think the only ones that I did like,
probably like Blue Beetle or something. Did you ever watch that?
I never saw that one.
No.
But at that point, they made me stop caring about DC.
Oh
movies,
yeah, that's
so
right.
I'll probably go back and watch it. But I think any movie that I did like is only in comparison to the other movies that were out that weren't good. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, yeah, compared to Justice League, this is okay, but
it's better than total crap.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So when they're doing DC figures, looking at, I don't know the size of these. Folks in the comments, you maybe know better than I do. I assume these are 6-inch scale wrestling figures. You get a whole cage Dio here for $31. Well, that's on sale. It was $40. That's still not bad for a whole Dio set. Like I imagine this is like you could get a Justice League table, whatever that is.
Oh, yeah.
So
that'd be nice.
That would be cool to have in your display. Next, this is just your standard wrestling figure. $36 for this. If my DC figures look like this, I might not be so interested, but it does come with soft goods, multiple heads, multiple hands. That's good at least.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I've heard really good things, but
yeah, I probably wouldn't do $35.99 for that, but you know,
right.
I think these are 6-inch, right? That they do for the wrestling.
Yes.
So I mean that'll be pretty big, I think, for a lot of people. Just the fact of it scaling.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I think they'll definitely be at definitely not to the level of like McFarlane's sculpts, but I think as far as like just a general figure that kind of articulates in a more legend style, I think it'll be a lot closer to that than you were with your McFarlanes.
And that's kind of what I was saying before you jumped on too, is like I've always wanted something that like when I put these on the shelf next to each other, they look like they go together. Because even as kids, we had Toy Biz Marvel Legends and DC UC. It's like they were at least both 6 inches, but they didn't look exactly the same. Like they looked very different. And then, you know, now we have the DC multiverse next to Hasbro Legends, and it's even more different. So this is at least going to, I think, bring us back closer. Next, I've got a Skeletor with a giant throne, $70. It's a little bit more expensive than your Odin. And I think this is still in the 6-inch scale, but it's kind of the retro, like not nearly as articulated. So, you know, move on from that. This is not exactly what I want for like Legends looking, but this is more like DC UC. So that's kind of where I think like this is maybe a comparable thing to look at, because you get that like, or I could see them easily doing this with like some sort of DC comic background, and it's only $20. And it's, you know, probably just as articulated as any of those DC UC figures. Do I have a picture of her? Yes, this is her like posing. That's not bad, I think.
Yeah.
So again, I would like it a little bit more articulated than this, but I'd still probably pick up a few figures if it was in this sort of vein.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely that image alone shows that their packaging will probably can be a lot more interesting than McFarlane. You know, I mean,
That's
I think people, even if you're not going to open it, he never really had too much color like that, like a comic-y image, or making the packaging something that, I mean, I don't know. I think we sometimes saw pictures of people posting, but I don't think there were a lot of inbox McFarlane collectors. So
that's true. Yeah. Because and I didn't really even think of that until you said that. Is they really are not inbox McFarlane figures aren't that cool.
Right. Yeah.
So again, now going more to the articulated accessory type He-Man figures. These are only $24, so just slightly less than a Marvel Legend, but you're still getting like what is this? It's not Mechanic. Roboto. He's coming with interchangeable hands and an interchangeable jaw. I think that's a good amount of accessories for what I would expect a DC figure to come with. I'm not expecting maximum level accessories right out of the gate.
Right.
But I think this is, this gives me hope that, if they go in this same vein, this can stand next to my Hasbro Marvel Legends and look cohesive, right?
Yeah.
Chat, what do you think? Jordan, what do you think?
Seems pretty fair. I'm trying to think. So if is this different than, because remember that like 30 or not 30th? It's probably more like a 40th He-Man.
This one?
Oh, hey, there you go. Did they make this?
Yeah, this is.
Oh, I really like this figure. I got this one on sale, and I really liked it. I'm not too attached to He-Man, but I was like, that looks cool. Okay, all right, we're in business then, baby. If they made this guy, then I'm in, because this was a really cool figure, and does pretty much everything I think I'd want a He-Man to do. So I mean, I think there's a lot of figures like that they will get much more of, to me, that comic-y feel. That even the comic-y McFarlane sometimes just, it was always like he put his own little spin on it, and I feel like Mattel will be less like, we're just going to give you more what you're thinking of, what you want with the comic stuff, without like, this is my own little flair.
This is not the Todd version of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it worked, but sometimes, it'd be incredibly infuriating to be like, just make it normal, man. Just make it a normal toy. Like, stop.
Right.
So okay, that makes me feel a lot better. So I was wondering if they'd made this He-Man. So knowing that they did.
Yeah, and again, this is only $23. That's, I think, a pretty decent deal. What else do I have here? Oh, this is Mattel before Todd took over. So just kind of like, I think they're going to update, but this looks very Marvel Legends to me.
Yeah.
And again, you get this guy for $8 right now on Big Bad Toy Store. Originally he was $20. So that's several years ago now. I would assume the price is going to be bumped up.
Yeah.
But just seeing what Mattel had done with their DC figures, I would assume it's going to go back to something similar to that.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people, I saw people posting like some of the like worst looking Mattel DCs, and like, this is what you're getting. But it's like, obviously technology's changed. I'm sure there's things they do differently. I don't think it's going to be like to Marvel Legend quality, but I mean, I think it's going to be better than what you're seeing there. Right. But I mean, with those aesthetics, I think those aesthetics would be great for DC characters.
Here, I saved Facebook. I don't know if you saw this before that I sent you on Facebook. But these are what Mattel had shown that was going to be coming, but that never ever actually came out. So let me share screen here. We're going to Facebook. No, this one. Okay, so this is some of the figures that Mattel had kind of like put out. I don't remember if it was Toy Fair, San Diego Comic-Con 2018. So I think these look pretty good. Let's scroll down.
Can I see that a second? Okay, are you going to more?
Just scroll too much. Too much crotch.
Lobo's crotch.
Get me out of here. Okay,
nice crotch.
Go back. There we go.
Need a little belt like that.
There, that's better. So I think Lobo looks really good.
Yeah.
Keep going here. Extra head. And again, I think these would be more updated compared to what, because obviously this is 2018 tech. So if you look at a Marvel Legend in 2018 and you look at a Marvel Legend now, they're not completely different, but they've definitely updated. Like I would hope that they're going to use like butterfly joints and stuff. But these are at least like cool character selection. Like I would probably be getting this Kyle Green Lantern.
No diaper.
Yeah, no diaper. Getting rid of the diapers. I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. Look at that Batman Beyond.
That's some good looking Batman Beyond.
Spoiler alert, maybe one of us has that on there. What if Hasbro did DC figures?
You mean Mattel?
Well, we did DC.
I know. I was just joking about that.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to Mandela effect everyone into thinking we recorded it differently.
These I didn't even see these.
I've owned that one before. That Flash.
You have?
Isn't that the 1990s one or yeah? I think that's the one from the 90s show. I think they may have actually released that, and we're going to release Linda Carter. So I don't know if that's a comparison thing.
Wow.
Because
how
they
much
were
did you sell
doing
that Flash for?
Oh, quite a bit.
Seems like a pretty crazy thing.
I'll tell you, that was a valuable
That was a big seller.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back.
Because that's the Linda Carter 1970s show. Yeah, that's the 90s show one. I think they actually put that one out. That's probably one of the last ones, I bet, maybe.
Wow. And you've had it. You've had a piece of history, Jordan.
Oh, I did, with all of his, weird hands.
I mean, that's kind of a cool cape.
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
Penguin? So they were doing, look at that, they're doing soft goods jacket on him and everything.
Oh, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Head of the curve.
Yeah.
What's next to him? Is that a Joker?
I think that might be, it's a Heath Ledger Joker.
Wow. I wonder if that was released.
I had a Joker like this, but I don't think it was this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I think mine was like a 3 3/4 scale.
Yeah. I guess to me, what I'm probably most excited for would be just like being able to move them around easily.
Right.
I mean, I'm tired of pinching my fingers. It's not a bad looking John Stewart. That looks pretty good.
I agree. I mean, I think, I would love if now they have a Black Canary that has a screaming kind of like sonic blast that you could attach to the head would be cool. But yeah, I agree that John Stewart, I would get that too. Because even the McFarlane John Stewart's, I'm just kind of like, I mean, it's John Stewart, but it doesn't really look how I want him to look. Like this looks good. I would get that one.
Just no frills, it is what it is.
Yep. Kid Flash looks all right.
Mm-hmm.
I think Starfire looks pretty good. She's got kind of like the translucent hair down towards the bottom and the top.
Ooh, Nightwing.
Like that also may or may not be in our What If Hasbro did.
Like if they made anything even kind of like that Nightwing, I think people would be pretty happy with that Nightwing.
Oh yeah, look at these, Jordan. Boom. Sign me up. I want them.
Oh, there you go, dude. Yeah, see? You'd go for that.
I would, for sure.
Ninja Batman with Ninja Joker.
I love it. I mean, it's Hasbro, or not Hasbro, McFarlane did his like the Hellbat and the Superman armor thing. This is, I would be much more interested in a samurai version of all these characters.
Samurai, not ninja. My ignorance.
Something I don't know.
I said ninja. You said samurai. It looks more
I would probably guess more samurai, yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Did I give you was it Green Lantern samurai type thing? Or maybe it was this Batman samurai type thing? I don't know. There was some sort of samurai thing that I was going to sell that I think you said you wanted. I don't remember if I ever gave that to you or not.
Is it a toy?
No, it was a comic.
Samurai. I don't know if I got it.
Well, I'll look and see if I still have it. That's pretty crazy. Blockbuster, right? Or Mammoth, maybe? Probably Mammoth. Is that his name?
Take your word for it.
Chat. People who watch, or maybe I guess you could also read. I'm basing it off of the cartoons, but it's one of those two. Blockbuster would be more like made out of cinder block, but that looks like a substantial figure.
Cinder block.
You've been wanting a Beast Boy forever. Is that the kind of Beast Boy you're looking for? Or that looks a little too happy Beast Boy?
Too happy?
I don't know. I feel like this is not the Beast Boy that I imagine in your collection for some reason.
Yeah, probably not. I want probably more old school look,
Yeah, he looks a little anime. A
little too modern. Yeah, I agree with you. Anime looking.
Hawk Girl looks pretty cool. Although I would want some articulated wings.
Nice wings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
pretty good.
Both of those look pretty good. I don't know if she would come with a mace. Maybe this isn't like showing everything they'd come with, but if You're putting out a Hawk Girl without a mace? Get out of here. What are you doing? Okay. Yep, they said it's Mammoth. I was right the second time.
And
then we're back to the start. So there you go. There's a little what they would have done in 2018 if they still had the license back then. So I like you said, I would be pretty happy with those coming out with, we update their figures by nearly 10 years, and I think you'd have some pretty sweet figures.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So that was kind of it for the DC stuff. Before you were on, we talked about the dragon.
The dragon, yeah.
You saw the dragon in person. It's pretty impressive, right? No, I'm not gonna get one. But they said it's gonna be $550.
You gotta get that dragon. You're the biggest Mythic fan I know.
I think if I had a house and a ton of money, I would probably still pass. I think it's just too big for me. I appreciate what it is, but I would rather spend my money on those Mattel DC figures. I think I still got to see them, but I think that's more where my money is probably going to be going. So they are going to do like
a hypothetical world. He wouldn't get it. I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's cool, but I don't think I would ever feel the same that I feel like looking at it on display at Legions Con. Like looking at it on display at Legions Con, I'm like, this is amazing. They've got their whole dio set up. It looks as good as I think it would ever look. In my display, I'm probably just going to like be frustrated that I can't recreate that feeling for myself, where I'm like, it's like I spent the $550 on it, or more with taxes and shipping. I think the stretch goals are kind of more what I'm excited about. So I'd like to see what those are. Those are going to be free added on when they unlock. It's just going to be put in.
Right.
But yeah, talked about those, and then talked about kind of our other figures that have been coming out. So what are your wish lists for Wave 1?
Great question.
Ray, that sounds like an episode. I think I would like to see them do kind of like McFarlane did, and kind of like we're going to do in our Hasbro DC stuff, where Wave 1 isn't just Superman, Batman, Flash. Like I want to see, I'm not saying you got to go like so off the beaten path that I'm like, who the heck even is that?
Right.
But I want to see characters that either McFarlane didn't do, or that he did that were just kind of always like, that was close, but it's not really.
Yeah, almost
want to see some classic. Like I want it to be my mind's eye of the characters, and it could be any character, as long as it's what that character is supposed to look like. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Because I think that's just been the whole like issue with DC Multiverse. It's been almost that's kind of what I think of when I think of that character, but it's
kind of
right,
but not quite. So are you telling me, Dakota, there will be a DC Legends episode and a Mattel wish list first wave episode?
I mean, I feel like we've got to, right? I feel like I'm not going to scrap the DC Hasbro one. Like that's already
it might be
edited,
slightly different if it were Mattel. I'd have to think about that, because I think maybe we won't do like a waves, but Legends tech, but what we'd like to see, because it would make sense to be picking. I think I saw a comment here. It's gotten buried now. But something about like doing figures that Todd hadn't done, so like not just starting fresh, but it's like what's been done, what can we do from here, and then maybe circling back eventually to other figures that have been done a decent amount but need a reintroduction.
Papa's saying Wonder Woman in the first wave. I think that if I'm the one in charge of choosing what comes out, I would, and I think Todd would respect the move too. Like, I don't think this is like, I'm not trying to do a dig at Todd, but I would be trying to go for the things that Todd couldn't do. Like, I'd be like, this has been your DC line for a while. He said he couldn't do female figures. Boom. We just put out a sick Wonder Woman in Wave 1 where it took him years to give you that Wonder Woman that you've been wanting. Right. Like that's the kind of stuff I would want to do as like I'm going to hit it hot in the beginning. Like folks are going to know, like, we're putting out
This
good
is what we're
figures,
about.
and you don't have to wait for the good figures for us like you did with that last guy. Again, I think Todd did good things.
Yeah.
But I think even if I was going to have somebody do Marvel, like, I love Marvel figures, they're awesome. But I would still probably do things that I'd be like, we're going for the jugular on Hasbro on this one. Like, the things people complained about, we're going to like crush people's expectations. So I don't know. I think an interesting question, how many characters in the first wave? So when we did our DC Hasbro figures, we did it as if they were Marvel Legends, where there was 6 figures in a wave. There's a Build-A-Figure, and then we also did a deluxe. Now that you know that it's Mattel, I think Mattel usually does smaller waves, and I think that they do Build-A-Figures with their Build-A-Figures in their wrestling, whatever their wrestling line is called. But I don't know if I was, yeah. But I don't think they do that with the He-Man stuff. He-Man waves are, I think, usually like 4 characters, maybe.
Okay.
So it's like, if they're going to be more He-Man-y, 4 characters in a wave. But is that enough to really be like if your wave 1 is just 4 characters, and I've got to wait several months to then put more figures on my shelf? Should I be putting out more at the start, like go like hot and heavy right out of the gate, so that people can be like, oh, here is my DC Mattel display? Or do I keep slow trickling stuff out? What do you think, Jordan?
I mean, I mean, like, what would be ideal if I were Mattel? You mean? I'd probably want to put out
what do you think would work
more
better?
than less, but I mean, I guess maybe it's like, what would make sense to me is them fitting the production into their model, or like what they do, you know. So, but I feel like with DC, I mean, it would make sense with like He-Man or other things to be doing smaller stuff, but with DC, you have such a huge library of characters. You don't really need to like pace yourself. There's like no shortage of stuff you can make, I think. So I think more is probably better.
Papa's saying a slow, dramatic start. Icons try to do them all at once and had a big burnout. Interesting.
Good point.
Yeah. Let me see. What was has it been confirmed that these are 6 inches? No. This is just us kind of delusioning a little bit, but I think, and this could be just my echo chamber that I'm a part of, but a lot of the comments and other people talking and stuff have been
my echo chamber I've curated for myself.
Right. Where everybody only collects Mythic Legions and Marvel Legends. They all think it's going to be that kind of scale.
My perfect world.
Right. So, like I said, my echo chamber says it's going to be 6 inches, but I think that does make sense because, again, going back to Dan Hu's live stream today, John was talking about how doing other scales, like 6 inches, kind of the sweet spot. Like if you do smaller figures, like 3 3/4, it costs pretty much the same thing as doing 6-inch figures. Like that's why Mythic Legions are the size they are. They were going to be 3 3/4, but they were like, it's really not that much more expensive to just be a 1/12 scale. And that's where they went.
That'd be a very different world for you.
Yeah, I probably would not be looking at Mythic Legions at all if they were 3 3/4. And I think that's probably the same with a lot of, I mean, there are, I'm sure, collectors out there that are like, I only collect 3 3/4. But to me, that's a much more retro way of collecting. Like you're probably wanting to collect your Star Wars retros. I don't even know, like, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, do they have a 3 3/4? But it's like those smaller, older figures. You're like collecting nostalgia. You're not collecting modern things. So like, I think, what is it? DC Superheroes line is 3 3/4. Nostalgia. That's what you're selling.
Yeah, it's retro stuff.
So if you're trying to sell to like a modern collector, you've got to go 1/12, I think. And again, that's just me, and I collect that way, so that's probably why I think that way. So maybe somebody can tell me that, because I mean, Marvel did their 3 3/4 line, and it didn't last very long. So there's a reason for that. So either people weren't collecting it, or they realized that it's the same price to just sell bigger, and more people like that. So that's my assumption. Would you, if they did do 3 3/4, but they were kind of more that Marvel Universe style, so they're still good figures, just smaller, would you be looking at them, Jordan, or would you be like, 3 3/4, don't care?
Yeah, no way. Sorry, not to be rude or disrespect any of the loyal 3 3/4 collectors. I get it from a space standpoint. You probably have a lot more, but it doesn't quite click for me. So
Yeah.
I would not be interested for sure.
Yeah. I same for me, because like I said, I want my figures on the shelf with my Marvel Legends to all look cohesive, and 3 3/4 is like, that's worse than McFarlane figures, because McFarlane figures, some of those bigger characters can be bigger next to my Marvel Legends and it works. But nobody 3 3/4, like the Atom is the only person I can collect then, and I don't even want that character. So it's just kind of pointless for me to even look at 3 3/4 DC figures. I would save some money, I guess, because that's the other thing, Jordan, is if these are amazing DC figures.
Oh,
Where's that budget coming from, buddy?
Yeah, it's got to come out of something. You got to make some readjustments. Well, you're saving a lot of money by not buying that dragon. So I mean, you got at least 550 plus shipping plus taxes. So you got about
like
at
$700 in the bank for that.
At least about 650 or $700 to burn. So you're good.
True. That's a good nest egg to start my DC collecting with.
That's a little sample, folks, of Dakota's action figure buying collecting math. It's a really cool system. We should probably do an episode on that just to teach you guys how you can do these mental gymnastics to actually make money that you are able to spend on toys out of thin air. It's really cool.
It's like girl math. Like Jordan had an Iron Man. He got it, didn't love it. It had like paint defects, whatever. So he returned it. And that money is whatever. It's like maybe an Amazon gift card. That's free money now. So then you can spend $25 more and get another figure, and then boom.
But the $25 figure was only $10. It's amazing.
Exactly. Yep. So we'll do an episode breaking it down. Maybe we'll break out the whiteboard math and things. But yeah, for me,
write some math problems in the style of that math. If Dakota has.
It's like The Office when Kevin's trying to get the pies and he's like, if we drive at this speed, we only have this much time to get there. They're like, wait, Kevin, you can do math? He's like, well, yeah. It's like, what if it wasn't pies? What if it was dollars? The math doesn't work then.
Exactly.
So okay. If they put out a DC and it looks exactly how I want it to look, it's cohesive with my Marvel Legends. I can't even say like, oh, I'm going to use my McFarlane budget for those figures, because my McFarlane budget is like 2 a year at the most. At the most, but budget. Like, I think last year I bought 4 McFarlane figures.
Yeah,
I'd have to look back, but I think that was all I bought last year, was just the Asbats and the Supermans. I would love to see a Mattel version of the electric Supermans. That probably won't be for a little bit, but I'll take it.
I know I got like 2.
Yeah.
Maybe
I have to check Legends first to see what even came out, but I can't use my McFarlane budget as that, because that's not going to get me very many figures. Am I going to buy less Mythic Legions? No, because they're getting better and better, and they're putting out new lines, Infinite Legions, and the whatever the All-Stars thing is going to be called. So I can't take it out of my Mythic Legions budget. Am I going to buy less Marvel Legends, Jordan? That's possible. It's possible. It's actually
depending on what we're seeing. I mean, it's.
And I guess the good thing there is like I've got Spider-Man, I've got Captain America, I've got Iron Man. Who is Marvel Legends going to put out that I want? I say that as we have our bingo cards of wish lists and things that we actually do want. But
if that Uncle Ben HasLab hits, you're in trouble.
And I forgot about the Scooby-Doos. Scooby-Doos are coming out this year.
I think
Toy Fair, they might be.
Yeah.
Oh man, I need a job. Anybody out there that has a remote job I can do while on the road in my bus, I need to make some money, because I need to be buying some toys. So let me know.
If there's anything you need done by a guy living in a bus, Dakota could do it.
I'm gonna need a lot more super chats so I can get a lot more action figures. think they'll do the one solid buck method, because I think that's pretty much like the DCUC was like, here's this, you're going to get a new head on it, and it's going to be painted different. It's because that's kind of like, I show any action figure to Savannah, like especially if it's a Marvel Legend, like to her, all Marvel Legends look the same. She's just like, it's just painted different. It's like, well, yeah, but it's, it's this guy instead of that guy. Like maybe she knows who Spider-Man,
head
Captain
off,
America
and they put this one on, and now it's Daredevil.
Right. Which is pretty much what they do.
Right.
But I think that was like, that's exactly what, like, I don't know how many DCUC figures there are, at least with male figures. If they put out 100, I bet you 95 of those figures are the same torso, legs,
there'd probably
arms.
be, like slight you'd have like a Nightwing body and then like a Batman body, like one that's kind of bulkier, maybe one that's a little more like athletic, but then you'd probably get, a whole bunch of versions of those bodies, which would be a great way for them to do a lot of stuff and keep their price from going crazy, because it's like we're just basically redoing the same thing. And I do think a lot of those DC characters are like kind of just guys in spandex suits, so I think you could actually get away from that. I mean, but then that would let them, when they do a specialty one, invest a little more to be like, okay, we're gonna make this one cooler because we can, make most of the Justice League off of 2 bodies.
True. Yeah, so. I mean, that's Superman, Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter can pretty much all be the same body.
Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they had some like variations of like slightly more buff, but at this point, as long as it looks like how I want them to look, I don't care that bad. Ray Paz, get to the blood bank, Dakota. Interesting story. I tried, and I've got the holes in my arms still from it. There and there, and I only went twice. I was supposed to go like whatever it was, 8 times to donate plasma, get $750. I don't know how, but like their machine, I was hooked up, and it like system reset, and then they had to just like say, "Oh, you're done, and don't come back for 6 weeks." So then I couldn't get the rest of my money. So,
wow,
lost out on my plasma. So
got scammed by the blood bank.
Scammed, yeah. So I stole them.
You know what happens, folks, when people scam Dakota?
I'm about to get on Facebook groups and just destroy BioLife.
The president of BioLife is going to have one less leg to stand on.
Exactly. All right.
Jeez.
Not in your favor, right? So,
that was a good joke. My tripping ninja. Blood bank error, not in your favor.
I don't really get it.
Like in Monopoly, when you get the
it
says bank error in your favor, get $50.
Oh, okay. I need you there to explain it.
There you go. I got you.
Let's go here. Like I said earlier in the show, you can catch us on the Nerdies. We are presenting. We are beautiful. Big fan of Nerdzoic. It's always been a lifelong dream of mine. Well, not a lifelong. Since we've had this channel, it's been a dream of mine to be on the Nerdies. I was trying to get an award back when we were rookies. Now that we're big fish in this action figure pond, we're presenters. So, we're for real. Go check out the Nerdies. Do some strong collector comment in there. Let them know. Let them know you're there for us. Also, just came out today. Is this the end of the era for the Build-A-Figures? We're talking Build-A-Figures and Deluxe. Are we going to start seeing more Deluxes and less Build-A-Figures? Last year, there was only 3 Build-A-Figures. Maybe they're done with them. Go listen to that to see what we think. We also took some time to check out a bunch of customs. A lot of you guys are actually on there. You guys were commenting and saying like, hey, that Thor Buster's mine. Hey, that is this. So very cool. Glad that you all are making these cool customs. Go check out. These are some of the highlights, but we looked at quite a few. Papa was checking out that video and saw that we were live and hopped on here. I appreciate that. Once we're done being live, feel free to go back and finish that video because it's very good.
Oh, we have another comment from Ray about something that we.
What about a comic book crossover?
Wow.
We have not recorded this, but we're going to record this weekend about that, right, Jordan?
Wait,
did we already talk about it? Did we already do that?
We have our other channel, folks, the Strong Collector Comics, which if people aren't subscribed there, please hop over because there's a lot of great content there. But yes, we do have an upcoming video talking about the news that Marvel, DC Marvel will be returning in the form of some one-shots later this year, some ideas, speculations, what we'd like to see, a little bit of reflection on the classic Marvel versus DC. So you can look forward to that coming up.
Yeah, true. That'll be probably early next week. I would expect Tuesday-ish. I'll post that one. I still got to edit it. And like I said, I'm working on the DC Marvel, and then that one will probably be next. Got a lot of things in the backlog to catch up on. Okay. Then, speaking of Strong Collector Comics, you can check out our talk of the price of comics going up. We're going to have, possibly tariffs. It's been threatened. I think the tariffs for China are already in effect. So
more on the way.
More on the way. Yeah. So whatever you're paying for comics now, sadly, you might be paying more. Most single issues are coming from Canada. We're looking at, what was that, a 20% or no, 25% increase from there, and 10% increase from China. And that's just the start of it. So go check that out.
Organizing a revolution, folks.
Yeah. It's not far off.
All of us revolutionary nerds will unite.
All right.
To fight for the one thing that brings us all together. Cheap comics.
Yeah, live chat on the DC Marvel DC. Not on that episode, but we could do a live stream on that. Maybe next time Jordan's not in class.
That's right.
Next week or the week after. Maybe we can talk about that. That's not coming like anytime soon, right?
The Marvel DC thing? I think they just said in 2025, so I'm guessing it will be later, probably in the fall-ish.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay, so we got time to talk about that. And we're probably going to do more than one episode on that, so you can look forward to those. That's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thanks for joining us on the live. Make sure you go back and watch all those fantastic videos. If you want to, you can join the members group. Ray's a part of that group, so thank you, Ray. You can join us for Strong Collectors After Dark, some members-only content. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, stay strong.